Welcome back to the Frizz and the Grizz podcast with your hosts, Trudeau and D.
That's right. It's another episode of Frizz and the Grizz. It's your boy Trudeau. Thank you for joining us live Tuesday, December 19th, or next day on podcast. Good show for you today. I got an angry, grumpy co-host. He's had a hell of a day and a hell of a week. D, what's good, my man?
What it do? I love the introduction. I'm grumpy as hell, but I'm here. I'm glad to be here, and I'm happy to be here, man. How's everything going with you?
I'm glad you're bringing the positive vibes to the show. Good. I wanted to start off with just throwing out the Detroit Pistons.
Okay.
I looked up because I know they're on this historic losing streak.
Mm-hmm.
They have now. This is the holly jolly time of the year. Christmas is coming up next week.
Supposed to be, but yeah, go ahead.
Christmas is coming. Yeah, you haven't had a holly jolly time, but Christmas is coming up next week. The Detroit Pistons have not won a game since before Halloween. That is insane.
When you let that sit in, that definitely doesn't sound great. There've been 3 fucking holidays. Oh, well, not 3, but there's about to be 3 holidays before they get another dub.
Yeah, man. It's been a very, very scary trick or treat for them. Yeah, so I'm really rooting for. I'm like on the Pistons. I'm watching every game now for the Pistons, just rooting for this streak to continue because it's just it's like a train wreck watching them. And I'm really hoping they can get to the full 2-month mark. If they can get to New Year's Day without winning a game, they go 2 full months without winning a game. That's amazing.
That is incredible. Definitely not what I had expected from any NBA team. So you can't even say shouts to them because that's embarrassing. They don't really know what they got going on up there, obviously. Even when they got one of the Thompson twins, right?
Yes, they have. I don't think they have Amen, I believe.
They have one of the Thompson twins, and it's like they're still not. You don't know if like that's the guy, and it's like one of those like top 4 picks that like you're hoping is a slam dunk, get out there and is something. We talked about Cade Cunningham at the beginning of the season, like this would be a good season for him. Hasn't really come to fruition, unfortunately. What's that?
Cade.
Yeah, I mean, my goodness, maybe he needs to leave, and they hand the keys over to Thompson. What's up?
I just remember something I saw this week. So obviously the Detroit Pistons Reddit page is dealing with this losing streak well. They're at 24 straight losses in a row. And one of the trending posts on the Detroit Pistons Reddit page was, if the Detroit Pistons kill 5 of their players, they can then trigger an emergency franchise draft.
Jesus Christ. That's terrible to say, man. Come on now.
Things are that dire in Detroit. Oh my God. Not as dire as you this weekend.
So this is what I gotta say, and this isn't a Frizz 5 or anything like that, but like, you know how we did like pet peeves? We could probably do like airport pet peeves because there's definitely so many things that people do. And I'm not even talking about like flight related, right? Like delays happen. It's whatever. Plane, needs to be running right. I'm not gonna be mad if they're like, we got this little light that came on. I'm gonna be like, all right, cool, fix that fucking light. Like, I don't want to be up in the air and the check engine light comes on. But it's like when people do things, and I was at the airport. For those that didn't know, I was at the airport from damn near 7 a.m. till I landed at like 10 p.m. on Monday. It was rough. Sorry, Sunday night. It was rough. So I didn't really get to watch that many football games. I watched whatever was on the fucking plane or in the terminal. But the things that people do at airports piss me off. And I think the number one thing that is the most aggravating is people that like disregard the, hey, please keep all cell phones and tablets in airplane mode while we're in the air. And like, there was at least 3 people that fucking answered phone calls, like, because it's Wi-Fi calling, but people that like answer phone calls and are just having a full-blown conversation on the plane. I'm like, yo, like the fucking pilot says, like, don't turn your phone on. And you're talking about, hey, yeah, we're going to be on the ground in hopefully an hour. It's like, yeah, if this fucking thing don't crash, like, I know that it really doesn't involve it, but like, it's still, they say just follow the rules. And you can't just like if you got the text before they call you, knowing you're in the fucking air, yo, bro, I'm in the air. Let me call you back. Not like, hey, yo, what's good? Hey, no, we in the air. No, we flying this motherfucker. We still in here. No, we don't plan on landing for another hour. It's like, dog, like, what are they calling you for? Why are you taking that call? Oh, that's probably number one. Pissed me off this entire weekend.
I mean, I think that airplane mode thing is kind of bullshit. Maybe they thought back in the day it was a thing, but if they're gonna give you Wi-Fi calling, I think you're good. I think
No.
you can. They're offering to you.
If people trying to sleep, I'm not trying to hear
No,
you
I'm not
talking.
saying
Oh,
I'm not
okay,
saying
okay.
talking on the phone. I'm just saying like I don't think it's gonna crash the plane. I don't think someone's gonna answer their phone and the plane's going straight down to the ground.
I just think of the movie Soul Plane. I don't know if you've ever heard it. Have you ever seen it? It was like one of Kevin Hart's first movies. It was Kevin Hart. I think it was Method Man, and like they, it was like the early 2000s, and someone picks up a phone call and they're like, "No!" and the plane just like does one of these. Oh, but yes, I got a whole bunch other. I'm not gonna go that route, but like that's probably the number one is people just not fucking listening.
What's up with old people in particular, just putting their phone on speaker and having a conversation?
Like it's nothing, or having the ringer on. Hey, newsflash, it's 2024. People 2023, but about to be 2024. Like, we don't need to hear the do-do-do-do-do. Like, we don't need to hear the chime. Your leg should vibrate when the phone rings because that's what usually the setting is on. So, like, for you to have it on both jingle and vibrate, like, that makes no sense. Like, what is the like, especially if it's in your pocket, like, you should feel your leg just like you should feel that. So
you were in rare form today. You are pissed off.
Like I said, man, the airport thing just.
We'll table that. We'll table the airport thing. We'll make it a first 5 at one point.
One of these days.
So you can vent on all the people that you hate from this weekend. I'm glad you're bringing the energy. We're gonna have some fun shit to talk about. It's gonna be a lot of heavy football stuff, just because we've kind of neglected the NFL. We're getting to that point of the season where like things are really wrapping up the next couple of weeks. So we're gonna talk a lot of NFL. Little Donovan Mitchell at the end. We got some picks for you. We were profitable in the week as a group last week, and we're going to close out with some closing takes. But first, some NFL talk. So we're going to jump all over the league for this topic. I want to kick us off. I wanted to talk NFL futures. I mean, we can go anywhere we want. But I wanted to just start off by just looking. I have DraftKings up right now. You can see my screen, D?
Yep.
I just want to talk about the Super Bowl in general because it's kind of like a bigger, broader brushstroke of everything going on. You can see the odds in front of you right now. 49ers are pretty heavily ahead of everyone's Super Bowl odds, followed by the Ravens, Chiefs, Eagles, Dolphins, Cowboys. At this point, D, what teams do you feel like are actually legitimate contenders? Because for me, it's like the 49ers are a class in their own at this point. Ravens are pretty good. Like they could be sneaky team, and we'll find out this weekend between the 49ers and Ravens how they match up. Mm-hmm. But I don't really believe in a lot of these teams below that.
So favorites to get to the Super Bowl, it's
to win it.
It was to win the Super Bowl. Okay. So definitely I would say it's San Francisco and then the rest of the field. That's just how it is, essentially. I don't believe, and I appreciate the raid. Thank you for the GBA that just posted. I know this is off podcast, but they just rated our channel. I've got a couple of people that are about to follow us or watch. So I would say it's the 49ers and then everybody else, like you're saying. I would match this. Not that I don't believe in Baltimore. I think Lamar Jackson is doing incredible things at the quarterback position. So I hope he continues that in an MVP style, I would say, season that he's having. But I can't say I trust the Chiefs because it's not Mahomes. Another interception off of his wide receiver's hands. Like I said at the beginning of the season, like if he throws a pick, it's most likely because his receiver dropped it. And we're in week 14. This type of shit is still happening. The Eagles, we see that they're in that little mix or that little rut that the 49ers were in a couple of weeks ago, 3 in a row. Like, is it a bad rut or are they a bad team? Kind of to figure out like where they're at right now.
Let's slow down on some of these. Let's start with the Chiefs because I watched the Chiefs-Patriots game, most of it this Sunday. And while the final score was pretty in favor for the Chiefs, the Patriots gave them a run for their money. It looked like Patriots are going into halftime with the lead until Mahomes drove the length of the field to put up a touchdown. Mm-hmm. it's just the same thing week after week with the Chiefs and their receivers, man. I think it was it MVS this week? So I don't know who it was who
No, it wasn't MVS. It was I think it was
Tony?
Tony again. Yeah,
Okay.
Kadarius Tony again.
And you could just see there's a clip that went viral of Mahomes going back to the bench, and I think he said something like, "I hate this fucking shit, man," or like, "I hate
He's
this."
pissed.
And he has Kelsey, but you can kind of put a double on him, and there's nothing else really to help him out. Run game's not there; hasn't been there all year, and it's a one man against the world kind of mentality. Even the defense a little bit with the Chiefs, looking like juggernauts to start the year. They've kind of normalized a little bit. Not that they're a bad defense at all; they're a good defense still, but they're not like a top 3 defense. And I think when the margins get so razor thin in the playoffs, it just doesn't look like, to me, this is the year that the Chiefs, and I say that I don't think they're going to make it, but on the flip side, we've seen this before where they've had ruts in the middle of the season. You remember like 2 years back in the Super Bowl and they had like a mid-season rut and they just came back firing for the playoff. Yep. I don't know if this is in the cards for the Chiefs. And I don't really think there's much they can do.
The difference is they had a playmaker 3 years ago, Tyreek Hill, when they went to the Super Bowl last year. Granted, I'm not saying he was an all-pro NFL wide receiver. They had Juju in reliable moments. Juju Smith-Schuster did catch. I saw that comment too. He caught the passes when he needed to. This season, there is no playmaker outside of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Like, it's legit just Kelce, but like you're saying, if you bracket him, you put a linebacker on the inside, a safety over the top, bump him with the corner, you can take a 33-year-old tight end out of the game, right? Like, he ain't Gronk. Gronk was always open. What I'm saying is there's nobody else to take away pressure. Pacheco was already banged up. They were bringing out, I think, Jerick McKinnon got in for running. I love my LSU boys, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a shell of himself. He's nowhere near how he was when he was back at LSU or his rookie season when they won the Super Bowl. Like, this is like a high alert problem for Patrick Mahomes, and you can see it because he's typically a even keeled. Like, I don't really need to get emotional. Maybe I'll celebrate if we're winning by a lot, but like, he's showing his like emotion in a negative way now because he sees that like this is something that like they can't allow to happen, or they're going to miss his win. Not miss his window. He's got 2 Super Bowls, but like, this is how a team gets worse, right? And he can sense that, and he needs to pull his team up, but he can't throw it and catch it at the same time, and that's what's hurting him.
So if the Chiefs have weaknesses, how do you feel about this one? Ravens to the Super Bowl, which I'm not hating that one. I think if there's any year that they're going to do it, like we've had hard teams in the past, right? The past 2 years where the main criticisms were they don't have weapons. This year they got weapons. They went out and drafted Zay Flowers. They got Odell Beckham, right? And this year you're seeing Lamar fully healthy, not taking injuries throughout the season. I love the Ravens. Their defense is sneaky good, underrated defense. The one thing that worries me about the Ravens is that they keep, I don't know what it is with Baltimore, but their running back health every year, it just seems to just go right down the shitter. They just lost Keaton Mitchell. They lost earlier in the year their starting running back, so they're down to probably Gus Edwards, and that's it.
Yeah, the thing is, I trust in Lamar. This is a pro Lamar Jackson podcast. Always has been. We were here when we said he needed to get his bag, a year ago. And I think the fact that he has weapons outside of his legs, it helps. You're going to find a running back. They just find a way to keep putting somebody out there. There was a time where Gus Edwards was hot in fantasy football. So, like, he's going to get the rock. He's going to be able to put the ball in the end zone if they get a chance. Not really worried about the running back. It was who he was going to throw to. And we thought he would take a step backwards when he lost Mark Andrews. But we've seen Odell Beckham Jr. step up in big games. We've seen Zay Flowers, obviously. Isaiah Likely has been incredible as a tight end. Not saying pickup because he was drafted there, but like for him to fill in the shoes that he needed to. He's not, Mark Andrews, but he's done the job like perfect for what he's, being a backup tight end. I think Rashard Bateman is starting to get his legs under him. So like there's other people that he could just get the rock to. And he's making some throws. Everybody likes to question his pass accuracy. The man's throwing 67, 68% for the season. It ain't dinking dunking. He's putting that rock down the field and letting people catch the ball. So if he keeps this shit up, it ain't a sneaky team. They are the best team in the AFC, and I don't see them not getting stopped if they got 2 games on the road, 2 games, and you're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the thing with Lamar, and I've always criticized him for this, is that he has so many highs and lows, right? His highs are so high, and then he just can make some really poor decisions and blow a game. If he can just avoid those back-breaking plays and like those like when you need to win or go home playoff games, I'm with it. And the one thing I love about Lamar is that unlike, let's say who he's playing this weekend, Brock Purdy, I like the 49ers as a team better than the Ravens, no doubt about it. However, the one guy on the field that if everything goes completely shit wrong for you and he can just make a play and get you a first down with his legs or do something crazy is Lamar Jackson. And like I love to have that type of guy on my team. Very similar to with Patrick Mahomes, where he's Superman on the field. And no matter how bad things get with the Chiefs, he can buy time with his legs, make an incredible pass downfield. And that's what you get with Lamar. On the flip side, Brock Purdy, it's like I think Brock Purdy's good. I think he's very underrated because everyone's like he's Mr. Irrelevant. He just is a system guy. He makes great decisions. But when things really go south and break down, I don't know if he has that ability to make things happen like these other guys.
So I'm not gonna call him. I'm not gonna say what Cam Newton said on his show, calling him a system quarterback. I think he fits the system of the 49ers perfectly. He was a don't lose us the game. He can go out there and spin it for 304 touchdowns. Reason being, he's got CMC, he's got Brandon Ayuk, and he's got Debo. Oh, and let me not forget, he's got Kittle.
Yeah.
He's got playmakers. So like, yeah, he might be able to just throw a 5-yard pass and watch his guys go for 60. Still got to put it in the spot, right? There's a difference between, I'm not calling him Brady. I'm not calling him Montana, but there was a difference between a Trent Dilfer and a Brady. Trent Dilfer passes it to his wide receivers, hits him in his chest. Brady puts it in a spot where his guys could run after the catch. And that's what Purdy's doing because Trey Lance couldn't do it, right? Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't do it. There was somebody else that was before Jimmy Garoppolo, like Alex Smith, unfortunately. Like they had players that would just get the ball to the receivers, but not make a play after. Brock Purdy's doing that. Like he'll let the dude catch his 5-yard slant, but he's going to take it for 70 because I'm going to put it in a spot where you can catch and run. Or here's the toss to CMC in a position that you guys think that it's a pass. Like Shanahan's incredible coach. So yes, I would say I believe in Purdy, but the legs of Lamar Jackson definitely bail that team out more than the arm of, I would say, Brock Purdy could.
I do want to talk about the Eagles, but before we get to the Eagles, because you were talking Brock Purdy, we're talking Lamar Jackson. Have you seen the MVP betting odds?
If I haven't, I know you're all over betting, but my guess is Brock Purdy shot up. I think it was 2 weeks ago when he threw for like 405 touchdowns. And then with Jalen Hurts losing, Dak Prescott losing, I would say Brock Purdy's probably at the leader of the table now.
Not only at the leader, but odds on favorite, minus 200. So you have to lay 200 to win 100, which is insane. Like that's a bet that I do not want to make on MVP. Number 2 right behind him, Lamar Jackson at plus 450. I really think it's going to be interesting to see how this game this weekend between the 49ers and the Ravens shake out for betting, because that is a game that can completely flip this race on its head. And you know what? I just want to say shout out to Lamar Jackson because he held out to get his bread, and I'm totally happy he did that. And there was a lot of people that were critics of him saying he's going to get hurt, he's not worth it, he's going to get paid and not show up. And this man could legitimately win a second MVP this year. He's a legitimate candidate, and his team is going to potentially be the number 1 seed in the AFC after all the shit he went through. They paid him his money, and you know what? It's showing that it was worth the investment.
So I was looking ahead, just numbers wise, just a minute ago. Let me pull it back up. His numbers this season, and the season's not over, are better than his MVP season. Like he's throwing at a higher percentage clip. The season that he won it, it was, let me see here, 66%. He's just under 67. He had 3,100 passing yards. He's got 3,100 at this moment. Touchdowns passing wise was 36. Granted, he's got only 17 this season, but he's got obviously, I'd say, more well-rounded players that he could just get the ball into the like near the end zone and then somebody can score. He doesn't have to be that guy. So like he's thrown far better than we were all expecting, especially because everybody's like, he can't throw the ball, in playoffs, he's going to be found out, or they're paying this bread for a running back. No, he's out there spinning it with the best of them out there in the NFL right now.
What was his passing yards, touchdown, interception stats?
So in 2019, when he won it,
Right now, I'm just
oh,
curious.
right now, my bad. 3,100, 17 touchdowns, 7 picks, 66.3 passing percentage.
What about his how many rushing yards? I'm just because I have
Lower, much lower. Only 700 rushing yards compared to 1,200.
Because Brock Purdy's stats is, I did not know how well of a season he has been having to this point.
Purdy's incredible.
But 3,800 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Obviously, you don't get the rushing yards there with Brock Purdy. So that's a ton of rushing yards for Lamar Jackson. So it's going to be a tight race. I would say this in favor of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson not only is their passing game, but he is their run game. So I believe he leads the Ravens in rushing yards.
He doesn't only lead the Ravens in rushing yards, but he's up there for total rushing yards for all players in the NFL.
Yeah, that should be a fun game this weekend.
He's a top 10. Yeah, he's just outside of the top 10 for all running backs that are accounted for.
Let's talk about the other team that was on our radar as the fourth betting odds is, I think, the Super Bowl, the Eagles. We had a pretty lengthy discussion before the show. I'm going to just tell you in the front end for the people who are not aware. We talked for the show. I presented that the Eagles are frauds. I think the Eagles might be the Vikings of last year. And my biggest point to that statistically is point differential. And D shook his head about the point differential thing. At this point in the season, I feel like point differential is a pretty good indicator of how good you are. If you're not aware, it's basically over the course of the season, how many points have you scored on offense? How many points have you given up on defense? You get a summation. The good teams usually have higher differentials because they're beating up on teams. To this point, the Eagles are what? What's their record, D?
Currently 10-4.
10-4. Their point differential on the season's plus 18, which means over the course of 14 games, they've only scored 18 more points than their opponent. To put that in perspective, teams with a similar point differential right now, Minnesota Vikings, Los Angeles Rams, your Aints.
Chill. They got a better one, 42.
New Orleans Aints have a better one. The good teams, the teams I would put as elite at this point, Dolphins, plus 147, Bills, plus 125, Dallas, plus 167, San Francisco, plus 191. So I just think for me, looking at that, right, they're winning a lot of very tight games, even against bad teams. And I don't think they have that oomph that they had last year, just beating teams down and actually just being dominant.
I would have to go back to pull their point differential for last year. We don't have a statistician that can just give us that.
I can get that on the fly.
I would check just because I don't remember them blowing out teams last year either. I think they ran the table when it comes to wins. And in the NFL, winning is winning. It don't matter. It's not like college football where you have to have a pretty win to be considered, for the CFP. But the Eagles grind it down and they just get dubs, especially with their 10-4. Granted, they're on a 3-game skid, but just 4 weeks ago, we were talking about this with the 49ers. So, I think they're more in a bad patch of games than they are a bad team. And to compare them to the fluky Vikings of last year, we said it all season that the Vikings were flirting last year, that the Vikings were flirting with danger with these one-possession games. So I'm not going to say that they're the same type of team. The Eagles, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember the Eagles having an incredibly big point differential last year. Oh, okay, what is it?
Plus 133.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, that's a little bit better than this year. Definitely only plus 18. So, hey, I'm wrong. I got no problem with saying when I'm wrong. I just don't remember it being we talked about, not to, go off track, but we talked about the Dolphins. I think it was 2 weeks ago. You saying that the point differential really didn't matter because they beat up on good teams, but they lose to bad teams. Well, now we're saying that the Eagles, who have a similar or better record, let me just double check, similar record, the exact same record, their point differential isn't as good. So we're saying that they're fraudy. And it's kind of which one do you go with? Do you have to be directly in the middle to say, all right, cool, you beat bad teams and you lose to good teams? I don't know where we're going with that.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is the playoffs are really tight. The margin for error is very thin. And if you're a type of team that has to win on the final possession of every game, you're going to have to do that 3 games in a row against very, very good competition. I just don't see that happening. And then just to go back to some of their wins against bad teams, this looks way worse in retrospect. Opening game of the season, 25-20 against the Patriots. They beat the Patriots by 5 points, which We now know how bad the Patriots are. They beat the Commanders in overtime by a field goal. They beat the Vikings by 6. They lost the Jets. They beat the Rams by a possession. They beat the Commanders by another one possession game. While there is a very valid argument against the Dolphins because they don't beat good teams, at least they handle bad teams, and they've shown to be explosive enough to beat down teams. And we had a discussion before the show of like what's wrong with the Eagles then, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a defensive thing more than an offensive thing. And I think maybe we're both right, but back-to-back weeks, 49ers, Cowboys, you get the doors blown off. They gave up 20 to Drew Lock, the backup quarterback, last night for, yeah.
Dog, he did that again. Sorry. He did that again. I was like, bro, you're not in college anymore. Chill out with that.
And now I told you, to your complete surprise, who's calling defense for the Eagles. Fucking Matt Patricia.
Matt Patricia. What the hell is that?
This team just seems to be falling apart as it goes along, and they don't have a resume strong enough earlier in the season to make me be like, oh, they're just going to put it back together.
So one of the things that I always look at when it comes to teams being as good as they potentially should be, or if they're better than they are, or worse than what they actually show, is turnovers. And I was expecting to see something completely different than I just did, which is they actually have a negative turnover differential. They're -6, which that's not good. So yes, if you do put together, because I can't remember what team we were talking about when it comes to defenses, where it was like they're bend but don't break, give up give up a ton of yards, but then
probably the Steelers.
It was something like that. I think it was the Steelers actually, but what they're essentially doing is they're giving up yards and not stopping them. It was the Steelers because we were talking about the Steelers had a ton of turnovers, but that's not sustainable because sometimes it is an offensive mistake. And for the Eagles, like they're turning the ball over and they're not getting the turnovers that they need. So like that's a double-edged sword for them. I still will believe in the Eagles just because they are, again, 10-4. End of the day, 3-game skid. If you split that in half, they're 12-4, 12-3, 11-4, something like that. So 11-3. I'm not stressing about them. Maybe if they lose this upcoming week, then sound the alarm for them. But I'm not ready to, especially after we were literally 2 weeks removed from the 49ers losing 3 in a row. We were like, all hell is burning loose. Like Brock Purdy lost his MVP candidacy because he lost his left tackle in Debo for 3 games.
It's weird. I feel like it's a weird season because how many teams do you legitimately look at and be like, they are absolutely Super Bowl caliber juggernauts? And I can only really think of 1.5, maybe 2.
There's nobody.
49ers.
No.
Really? Dude, come on.
No. I think they are. But you're saying since the season has started, who's been a consistent Super Bowl contender?
Like right now, since
okay.
15 weeks of 15 weeks of data, like who can you look at and point of like, yeah, that's Super Bowl team?
It's the 49ers. That's it. I thought you meant for the whole season.
Maybe 0.5, like a half. I have a half belief in the Ravens.
I want to believe in the Ravens because it's the AFC, but when it comes to championship, like we already broke it down between the two. Yeah, I think they have the best chances and odds of representing the AFC, but history,
it's just
its ugly head out, and we got to worry about Lamar's playoff.
Because in the past, I can remember, I don't know if it's just my bad memory, but I feel like every team in the past, there's been at least or every season, there's been a couple teams you're like, yeah, that team could win the Super Bowl. Like even last year, you had the Eagles you felt really good about. You had the Chiefs you felt good about. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 teams that I'm missing. You had great Patriots teams back in the day and the Colts. Like you had a couple teams that you had strong beliefs in. And this year, it just seems like there's so much parity in the middle of the NFL. The middle's really strong. And there's only 1 or 2 teams that really separate themselves at the top.
Well, there is extreme parity in the NFL. Just a quick count: 3, 6, 9. To get you the exact number, there is 11 teams that have the range of 7 to 9 wins, and we're at week 15. Meaning, when they show that graphic on, I appreciate you being here, Buff. When they show that graphic in the NFL, like on Sundays or something like that, and it's like the division winners, here's the 4, then there's the 3 wild cards, and then the in the hunt. We're at week 15, and like the in the hunt for the AFC is like half the AFC, and in the hunt for the NFC is like half the NFC, because legit won't say everybody, there are so many teams that have 7 to 9 wins that because of that 17th game, like you might be 10-7, right? Like you might be 11-6. That like, and it's all within the next 3 weeks. This is going to be like an incredible last end of the season because you're just going to see again. There's 12 teams that have 7 wins and are in the playoff hunt, which is ridiculous.
And one team that's kind of like we thought it was dead in the water that's surging now is the Buffalo Bills. And I don't think they're legitimate, but you know what, man? They might be a team that just gets hot. Remember the Bengals team a couple years ago in the Super Bowl that was so mid and bad middle of the season, and then they just went on a heater and won 5 straight or something and marched right to the Super Bowl. Eventually lost to the Rams, right? But that team just got hot at the right time. And this Bills team, it's got me a little nervous. I have a big bet on the 49ers, full disclosure, to win the Super Bowl. And this Bills team, man, they just give me a little bit of nerves because they're getting hot at the right time. Josh Allen is not making as many dumb plays. And that the defense this weekend, let's talk
Incredible.
They held Dallas to 10. Was it 10 or 3?
10.
Held them to 10 after Dallas have been putting up 30-plus points every week for the past month. This team is getting hot at the right time. Are you buying stock in the Bills?
100%. And I was never out on Josh Allen when it comes to making the playoffs. Reason being, we talked about it with Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen with the football is just as scary. And this is without Stephon Diggs having the season that we all thought he was going to have. Dalvin Cook's little brother, James, out of nowhere is going to put up 200 on somebody, obviously.
Straight.
You're good. You're good. I just think that the Bills are one of those, who the hell wants to play them type of team, right? If they sneak in and I know Buffalo had mentioned it earlier in the chat, like he just needs the Dolphins to choke. No, he doesn't.
Well,
the Bills already have the win in hand. The Bills just need to win out. They're both 10-4. No, not 10-4. My apologies. I said the wrong record.
No.
The Bills are 8-6.
All right.
If they got to play them, right? They got to play. They're one of the 3 games. The Dolphins lose 1 extra game.
What is the Dolphins' record right now?
10-4.
10-4, 8-6. Are you ready for the Dolphins' last 3 games?
Yeah, they're terrible.
It's a doozy. Cowboys, Ravens, Bills.
Mm-hmm.
That is
not good.
A very tough stretch. You'd be happy to win 2 of those 3.
That's not a choke job. That is like if they go 0-3 and they didn't choke that's 3 dominant. Well, I mean, Cowboys coming off an L, but that's still 3 dominant teams.
And this is a team that we've talked about all year can have 0 credibility because they've not beaten. Did they just beat a team with a winning record finally this past weekend? No, beat
the Jets.
They've not yet beat a team with a winning record. 3 teams in a row with a winning record that we think are very good. On the flip side, Buffalo, let me tell you, the murderer's row Buffalo has. The Chargers starting Stickly,
the Nickelodeon guy. Yeah,
the guy's name. They're starting a backup. They have no coach. Although, you know what? This is what scares me about the Chargers. I feel like the Chargers might have this little bounce back after firing the coach.
No.
That bounce.
They gave up 100 points. There's no fucking bounce back for that.
All right, so Bills got the Chargers, easy win. The Patriots, I don't know if that's at home in Buffalo or at New England.
They're in Buffalo.
Come on now, easy win. So you have 2 wins. If the Dolphins slip and lose one of those 2 tough games, and the Bills can beat the Dolphins, I think they win by choke there.
Yeah, it's not a choke. It's like this is a legit. Like they could mess around and lose the AFC East, which you brought this point up a couple weeks ago. These teams don't want to play in Buffalo in January.
No.
You do not want to give Buffalo a home game in the playoffs. As much as we talk about all these outside factors that matter or don't matter, Josh Allen will play in the snow. He will play in the rain. The game against Dallas last Sunday night. While I was on that fucking plane, they did show that game, so I was able to watch it. Those Cowboys players did not want to be there. And I know it's different in the playoffs, but they went down a touchdown and they were like, fuck this weather. Well, it's 30 degrees, freezing rain.
Let me say something.
Go ahead.
There's one thing to play football in the freezing rain and nastiness of Buffalo. And you know what? If you live in Buffalo, good for you. But it's not for me. It ain't for me. It's just too cold and shitty out there. But there's one thing to play football in there. It's another thing for a team to run the ball down your throat 25 times with Cook. And if Buffalo's going to play that type of football in the playoffs when it's
Fuck that.
5 degrees out and every hit feels like your bones are shattering, you do not want to do it, especially if you're Miami, a team that's, the pretty boys playing fast cheetah style football in the hot weather. You do not want to go up to Buffalo and play that physicality type of football.
No, thank you. If there's one thing that I don't miss about playing football, it was cold practice, cold, rainy practice, where everything you touched felt like it was going to break a finger. If your helmet got hit, or remember the pads inside the helmet, they'd be too stiff. And you gotta
you get wrong.
Yeah, bro, you gotta do all that. I don't miss it. Not at all. That's the part of the game I do not miss. But what I would say is those motherfuckers, I know they get paid millions of dollars. Human nature is still human nature. Nobody wants to play football in Buffalo at a 5 o'clock kickoff when it's 20 degrees out in a chance of rain. No, thank you. Lamar Jackson doesn't want to go out there. So let's just, for the sake of the AFC East, please, Miami, don't let Buffalo get the 1 seed or the top seed in that division, because if they do, it is going to be, the Jags are going to be in trouble if they get there. The Chiefs are definitely going to be in trouble. Mahomes has never played on the road. You got, I think the Dolphins that obviously you'd have to worry about. The Ravens, and the Browns, maybe. Those two grinded out teams, maybe, but those passing teams, nope, they don't want any part of being in Buffalo in January. No, thank you.
It's crazy with the Bills because I think the odds of them making the playoffs, there's on DraftKings a yes/no make the playoffs ticker. 2 weeks ago, I think you can get plus 200 on no or on yes. So it was heavily against them making the playoffs. Complete flip now. So they have completely reversed their chances of making the playoffs. And just shout out to the team coming together after firing their OC. And even though their coach makes terrible decisions about giving 9/11 speeches about they have found a way to rally. I'm happy for the people of Buffalo because you know what? It's cold, it's rainy, it's miserable. Y'all deserve some happiness.
They got nothing else out there. Is it just the Bills? There's no basketball team. They got the Sabres.
Yeah,
they got the Sabres. They got a hockey team to represent how cold it is. They don't got a baseball team. Nope. So it's just the miserable Sabres and the lowly Bills.
You know how you know they're sickos? 2 things. Number 1,
they throw themselves through tables.
That's 3. Number 3, they throw themselves through tables. Number 2, there's a guy in the parking lot who dumps ketchup and mustard on himself before a game. And number 1, they're building a new stadium, and they decide not to put
no dome. Yeah, from what I saw, no dome. They said because that's an advantage. That is 100% an advantage to have be in the playoffs in January, late February, early February. You'd be like, y'all come to us. Yes, we understand that it's cold out, but toughen up.
Do you have anything else you want to get off your chest on football? Because I do want to introduce a new thing we should try to do every week, and just a little touch of happiness, just a one really positive story that you can get off. But do you have anything before that?
No, I think we did a good job. The NFC isn't really something to talk about. It's the 49ers conference to lose, essentially. Don't believe in the Cowboys. Obviously, you talked about our concerns with the Eagles. I don't know what to expect out of the Lions. Jared Goff can be a Super Bowl contending quarterback, or he could not be. And what the hell is happening with the NFC South? It's either Baker Mayfield or Derek Carr that decide to either be an MVP candidate or the team wants to draft number 1 in the draft.
I want to say there's one thing I want to see happen this as a storyline to finish the season, and it's just a weird thing I want now. Is I want the Browns to make the playoffs and Joe Flacco to rally them into the playoffs.
I thought about that too. He is playing the ultimate I don't give a fuck football. He's bro, I'm gonna get paid. Sure. He's out there chucking it 50 times in a game, just throwing the ball. They got no running game whatsoever. Jerome Ford, unfortunately, he ain't Chubb. He ain't what we thought it was. But David Njoku is going off. That man is yes, I'll take Joe Flacco 3 times on Sunday and once on Monday if he's my quarterback, because nobody else since he's been in the NFL has been able to throw him the ball. But Flacco's no, I got you, bro. I don't care about Amari Cooper. He'll make a play if I pass it to him, but I'm throwing the ball to Njoku every fucking play.
They got the wrong quarterback, man. They shouldn't have got the nasty man. They should have got Joe Flacco.
Should have got the nasty man. They should have picked Joe off of the couch.
A new thing is just big shouts and just pick something you want to give a shout to, and in whatever sport we're talking. just I want positivity on the podcast.
Okay, you're all about the positivity today.
We
Go ahead.
started with negativity, just bitching about everything. I want to give big shouts to my guy Baker Mayfield, because you know what? This is a dude. Okay, you can do a big shouts and you want a second. I'm just saying, dude who was drafted first, labeled a bust because he didn't become a top 5 quarterback, got kicked around the league, bunch of teams, was on the Rams last year. And you know what? Is he great? Nah. But you know what? He's doing his thing. I think I saw a stat that he has like the most passing touchdowns in the past 4 weeks of football. He's at the Bucks and head of the NFC South. Big shouts to Baker Mayfield, because you know what? You're proving all the haters wrong, and that you could still be a good NFL quarterback. Not a great quarterback, but a good, usable quarterback. Shouts to him.
I wasn't going to interrupt you. I'll let you have your moment. It's
Come on,
your
man.
time frame. I wanted to 100% while you were talking about Baker Mayfield. So I'll let you have your moment. But I also love the MLB nitpicking stats. He's leading the league in touchdowns over the last 4 games. Brother, we have played 15 weeks, and you're waiting to talk about the last 4 games to how good he is? We're just going to skip the first 11 weeks, but like the last 4, he's showing that what he's showing is that like, hey, I'm not going to let it so you guys can draft somebody else better than me, but I'm not going to make it so that we can, win the Super Bowl. Right, that's what he's doing. So if you're going to go positive, I'm going to stay positive too with my shout out, especially because this is a backhand, I would say shout out. Big shouts to the NFL referees, because they are making it a point, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. I have never seen this many offensive offsides calls in my 36 years of watching fucking football. Like, I've now seen it at least 4 times since that call with the Chiefs last week. Like, they're just looking for it now. It's like, I went legit 36 years of seeing that call maybe one time. Maybe once. Now it's like every fucking game, he's lined up offside, still flag. We got to do it. We got to make up for it because, we got all this backlash because, dummy from the Chiefs wanted to line up wrong. So like now we have to call it because like, all right, that meme of that gif of Leo DiCaprio when he does that every time. I would think about that. I was like, oh, okay, y'all are just trying to call it now. Like, there's literally no fucking need for you to do it, but the referees see it and they're like, oh, we got to do it. Here's a flag, offsides, and everybody goes nuts, and they go, offense, number 17, and they're like, what? What are we doing here? So, big shouts to the NFL referees that needed to get this, rectified. Be like, we do call it 5 times in the last 2 weeks, although it was 5 times since 2000, since 1995. Like, we got to call it the last 2 weeks because now we see it. So big shouts to you guys.
This was supposed to be a moment of positivity. You just shat all over it, man. What the hell?
Told you, man. I'm positively pissed off at the fucking NFL referees for calling this damn flag.
I know what it is. It's because you've been losing your bets and you're pissed.
Comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Got the chatter.
All right, it's time to win some money or lose some money if you're betting with D last week. Tough break for you. You were on a heater, man. And by the way, if you're new to this segment, we do our weekly gambling picks where we've been taking tally. D's exactly 500 on the season. I think I'm about 9 or 10 games over 500, so I've been doing pretty well. D 1-2 last week. I went 3-0 last week. The streak is end for you, man. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it started off hot because I picked who was the first game? Was it the 76ers game? Yes. And I was like, oh, yeah, they're definitely winning that by more than 11.5. Ended up blowing out the Pistons by like 20. So I was hot. I was happy. And then I see this Falcons game. Like, yo, bro, just like don't lose to the worst team in the NFL. And they did. By a field goal. Like, come on, man. Like, you got to. And I was like, all right, let me at least have, I believe in the Jets. I think they got some type of momentum. Zach Wilson. I'm not going to say I believe in him, but I was like, I think they can hang around, was my phrase. I think they can hang around. Nope, 30 to fucking nothing. Zach Wilson was like, I'm not coming out of the locker room. I'm good.
I wanted to clip our segment from last week because I said I took the Dolphins as my pick, and I said
You
I bet
did?
they beat them by 20 points. I was wrong. They beat them by 30.
Yeah, I was not happy about that
All
by
right.
any means.
Let me give you some hot picks. I'm hot right now. 3-0 last week. I feel like my picks are trap picks because I like them so much. And I'm like, there's no way their lines are this small. First pick, I'm taking the Rams at home against your Aints. 4-point favorites. This is two teams going the opposite direction. The Rams have been very hot lately. Their offense is clicking. They got Kupp, Nakua back. And then just the Saints, man, you know their problems. They can't score in the red zone. I think at home, this is a Rams team that's going to put up a lot of points. I don't think the Saints can hang. I'm laying the 4. Not worried about it.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to agree with you, but I think the Saints looked much better than last week. But to each their own. Go ahead.
Who did they play last week?
The dub that they got was at home. Oy, good question. Like I said, I didn't watch too
They played
many
a bum.
games.
I know they played a bum team. The Giants. They played Danny
yeah.
DeVito.
No, not Danny DeVito.
He got hurt. Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, Tommy DeVito. Yes, 24-6.
He got hurt.
But hey, they got the dub at home. That's all that mattered.
There you go. Next pick, Bengals -2 at the Steelers. 2 words. Mason Rudolph. That's all. That's all. He's starting for the Steelers. They ain't gonna win that game. They're gonna fall back to 9-8, winning record, not make the playoffs. Last pick. You faded the Panthers last week. Your problem was you rode Desmond Ridder. That was a problem. Worst starting quarterback in the NFL. Well, I guess I'll take that back. Mac Jones was. I'm taking the Packers -5 at the Panthers. The Panthers are going to have a bounce back game. I think they played well offensively against the Bucs. They just defensively they couldn't stop the Buccaneers at all. Panthers offense doesn't scare me. I'm taking the Packers -5.
There you go. I'm not mad at those. I'm actually going to agree with you on one of them just because I think that this quarterback is helping this team substantially. I'm actually going to go with the Bengals plus or -2.5 as well. My case was I don't think that the Steelers are going to be able to hang around offensively. I know Jamar Chase did get hurt from what I was able to read. I don't know how bad the injury is, but T. Higgins is like, yo, be ready to back up the Brinks trucks because I'm him. So I think he's showing that he's a number 1 wide receiver. I don't think that the Steelers have the offense to run with the Bengals. So yes, I'm taking the Bengals minus the points. Second game is I'm not exactly sure why this spread is so low. Gardner Minshew is doing incredibly well, but I'm going with the Colts -1 against the Falcons. Again, Gardner Minshew is trying to get this team to the playoffs. The Falcons don't know what the hell they're doing on offense. They drafted Bijan Robinson to just not run them. So whoever grabbed him in their fantasy drafts, I told you so. But I don't know what the hell Arthur Smith or whoever the coach is in Atlanta is doing out there.
Well, they're not playing Lizard this week. You got the Green Lizard, Taylor Heineke. That's
The little guy that almost beat Brady and almost changed his entire career by diving into the end zone for a touchdown that everybody lost their minds for. But no, he's not going to make a difference either. I think Gardner Minshew and Michael Pittman Jr., along with whoever's running out there, Zach Moss or Jonathan Taylor, they got a really good offense. So I'm not snoozing on a 1-point spread.
Okay.
And then the last one, because I like to fuck things up and make sure that I don't win my bets. I'm going college football.
Oh.
I'm going to throw this one. Yep, here we go. But I'm going to throw this in when it comes to who's not playing, which is I'm going with Louisville -7.5 against USC because Caleb Williams was like, I'm not playing. Not only am I not playing, I could care less if you guys roll out there with anybody. So I know it's only a touchdown and a half-point spread. But Louisville looked really good before they end up losing, I think, to Florida State and then the game prior to Florida State. But they're still ranked 15th. The USC has nobody behind the center, obviously at quarterback, and they struggled when they had Caleb Williams. So yeah, let me go ahead and take those 7.5 points and give it to USC.
I made the foolish decision of betting college football the other day. I bet on a team that blew one of the biggest leads of all time in bowl games. I had who did I have? Old Dominion over Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky was started. Their quarterback left in the transfer portal. They were starting the head coach's nephew. I'm like, oh, this is easy money. The dude is down 28-0 this quick. They put in the third string quarterback. Motherfucker throws for 5 touchdowns and wins the game. Comes back from 28 down and takes my money.
That's college football, man. That's literally college football in a nutshell. It happened in the national championship where Tua Tagovailoa Jalen Hurts was doing his best to win the championship. They go down 3 scores. Tua Tagovailoa comes in and wins them the national championship.
I hate it. That was our gambling segment for the week. Hopefully win you guys some money. Let's move on.
Don't pick my bets.
Just for the sake of time, we'll just do this one pretty quickly. I wanted to just bring up Donovan Mitchell to you because I've been hearing a lot of chatter recently, and I don't know if you're aware. I guess you're aware now. His contract's up after next year, and there's a very poorly kept secret in the NBA that he does not plan to sign an extension with the Cavs. He will not talk about it. He will not address it. And this is a player who was previously on the Utah Jazz, who made it pretty clear to them, the Jazz, that he didn't have a desire to stay with them long term. And at that point, see you later. That was kind of behind the scene of the Donovan Mitchell getting sent out. Apparently, he's not loving Cleveland. They're not doing too great this year. And I was asking you the question, if you're the Cavs, what do you do? Because you have 2 years left to control. You can kind of ride out this year, have him next year. If he doesn't sign the extension over the summer, he's an expiring contract. You would think that his value goes down in the trade market if you wait till next year because you're losing a year of control. Are you in the favor, if you're the Cavs, of tearing it down prematurely and trading him away now, knowing that he's likely not going to sign? Or do you try to ride this thing out, maybe convince him to stay?
Trade him. Donovan Mitchell is not a needle mover, and we saw that with this. The issue was when he was in Utah, he could carry them, obviously him and Gobert, to a specific spot, and that was their cap. They weren't going to win the West. They weren't going to get to the finals. He was good enough to get you to maybe the second round, but he's got defensive deficiencies. Obviously, he's much smaller of a guard, but he's considered a 2, not a point. But he needs to have the ball in his hand in order to be effective, which they have Darius Garland that can play the point guard and play the point guard pretty good. So I'm trading him and getting as much as I can early because you already said it. Once you get to that area of, the closer to the deadline or the closer to his contract running out, teams are going to be like, he's going to be a free agent anyway. And if this shit's leaking 2 years out, his trade value might be dipping now because like teams will look at that and be like, you want me to give up X, Y, and Z for him? Nah, you can get X. No, not even. You can get Y. I'll give you my second best option for him. And if you don't like it, cool. We'll wait until he becomes a free agent. We'll just sign him. So like I think they lose a ton of leverage the longer they wait.
It's a tough situation because in a sense, it reminds me a little bit about the Bulls, where we all saw the Bulls 2 years ago and we're like, you're a fun team. You're a good team. Are you a championship team? Probably not. I mean, the Levine, DeRozan, when DeRozan was like MVP candidate when the Bulls were like on top of the standings, and they just rode that thing out. And at this point, the Bulls are going to be picked apart for scraps, right? Like Levine with his contract, he's not going to be worth a ton. DeRozan is going to be a free agent. Vucevic has become a shell of himself. And if I'm the Cavs, you look at how this team's constructed with the 2 bigs not really meshing well with Mobley and Jarrett Allen. It's like, we probably wanted to ship out one of these guys anyway. Donovan Mitchell might leave. Are we going to get it together enough before we have to make a decision? Because it's a race against time. If you can put this thing together and you become a high-level competitor and he changes his heart and wants to stay, great. But do you actually think you can pull it off in enough time to make this happen? Not only that, Mobley has just got a minor knee procedure. He's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks.
Ooh.
And I like what Wendy says. He's like, no knee surgery is minor, regardless of how minor it is. That's something that's a real serious problem. So you might be out your power forward for a good chunk of the season. I'm with you and trade him. It's just really tough to sell it to the fan base and to really feel good about that as a team where you're building momentum, and then you're just going to like trade away your star. I guess it all depends on what you can get back though as well.
Yeah, but you tried, and it's worse for those teams that didn't, which was Chicago holding on to shit for too long, right? Essentially, you have to look at your situation as a team before you can look at it as like an individual player. They are the sixth seed in the East. Every team ahead of them, this is actually something that I heard, which was really good. Maybe the Knicks, but every team ahead of them and some teams behind them have a better player than your best player. meaning you have the second best player on the second or third best player every matchup that you go up against. That's not a good thing. And I'm not saying you're going to find them, but at least if you get rid of Donovan now, depending on what you get in return, I know that the draft class this year is supposed to be god awful, but maybe you can find a lingering star that might be better in their situation, because like they got nothing against Boston, they got nothing against the Bucks, nothing against Philly, nothing against Orlando at the current moment, right? And essentially, if they hold on to him, they know their cap, they know they're not getting him back, and it's essentially just going to be lost, damaged goods at the end of the day. Yeah, you're not getting a ring with this team.
I know we want to get off closing takes, so you got to go soon. But just what do you think about the two rumored teams that is his preferred or potentially preferred destination?
Number one is going to be New York. I knew that.
Knicks and the Nets.
Will both be in Brooklyn. I mean, both be in New York. I got no problem with them going to the Nets. If he goes to the Nets, that means he's ready for a reset, and Brooklyn's ready for a reset.
I would say that might be the missing piece, because Mikal Bridges is real good. Cam Johnson's nice. Like, those three guys would be really fun.
That's what this is in Cleveland. They had Mobley and they had Darius Garland.
It's a better fit, I feel like, at least in Brooklyn, because you have pieces that complement him a little better.
Maybe. I would say it's better, obviously, in New York. But what you're going to give up is most likely either Mitchell again. I would say you're going to give up either their big and Mitchell Robinson, or you're going to involve Julius Randle.
I would say they could probably get away with not giving up like a top tier player, just because they have
Robinson. They got centers.
They have a smorgasbord of everyone's picks. I think they have over the next 5 years something like 12 to 13 first round picks.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the assets to move, and that would definitely propel them, because that's the Knicks thing, is like they play pretty good defense. They have a lot of guys who are scrappy. They have Brunson as
Josh and Quentin, all scrappy guards.
I was gonna say Brunson's been awesome as far as being like a carrying, will carry you as a scorer. My only thing with Brunson is undersized guards, man. It's tough.
Not easy.
Playoffs. Regular season, you can survive as an undersized guard. Playoffs, it becomes really, really difficult. And having just a bigger guard, I think he's like, 6'5", 6'4", Donovan Mitchell. He's a little bit bigger.
Mitchell is 6'3".
Oh, 6'3". Okay, my bad.
He's a little guy. And Brunson's 6'2".
Okay. At least to provide some help.
Mm-hmm.
I think we both in agreement, though. Like, they should probably pull off the Band-Aid instead of waiting this thing out. Let's get to closing takes so you can get to your draft.
The show is coming to an end. But first, it's time to get to anything we've missed. It's closing time. 1 segment, 2 takes. Now go.
Closing takes. 2 takes, 1 from D, 1 from myself. Doesn't have to be related to sports. I have like a feel-good sports story. I'm about the positivity to balance you out. I saw this story on Reddit the other day. I thought it was amazing. So hear the story. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Title: Woman plans to celebrate her 105th birthday by watching football and drinking Fireball. My girl.
Wow. You say 105?
104. Ready for this one? An Ohio resident is getting ready to celebrate a milestone birthday this weekend with a few of her favorites. Florence Hackman says she loves the Cincinnati Bengals, firefighters, and whiskey. So she went down to the fire station, pounded fireballs with the firefighters, and watched the Cincinnati Bengals get a W. How great is that?
That's a way to go out. That's like, Rose on the Titanic, like throw the rock off the ship, like everything has been fulfilled. Like, that's perfect. I don't know why that's like my imagination. I'm like, that's what she probably is going to happen. God bless her soul if she's still.
I like how you think she's going to just get drunk and die at the firehouse.
I mean, you just named 3 things that like she was able to do on her birthday: watch a dub in NFL football, get drunk, and then be with her favorite people and firemen.
105.
What else does she need to accomplish? That is
in 1918.
She was alive for the Titanic, right? Wasn't it 1920?
I don't know. She was alive for the fucking dinosaurs. Good God.
Lord have mercy.
Shout
Wow.
out Florence, man. Living the dream at 105, getting drunk with fireball shots, doing what I would do at 21. I love it.
She old, but I don't know if I want to see 105. That's a long time, man. There's a lot of shit that you be seeing. I don't know about that.
I'm here for it.
All right. Well, for me, I'm actually gonna go outside of sports because it was a topic that I might throw in for some Frizzes 5 at some point. But big shouts to Rockstar. They finally released obviously GTA 6 and the release date of 2025. Granted, I wish it was much sooner, but we all know the anticipation behind it. GTA 5 broke tons of records. GTA 4 broke the records prior to GTA 3. Same thing with San Andreas, Vice City, all these games. So I'm looking forward to that. More importantly, I think the biggest part that I am looking forward to, I don't know how important it is to you, but it's the radio stations. It's supposed to be out in this one's in LA again, I believe. No, which one is it? Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's not a map, though. Is that map real? It has Miami, Tampa, Orlando, and the Keys. It's like the whole like lower peninsula of Florida.
if they have Tampa, that'd be dope. Obviously, we all saw the stadium. The Miami Heat stadium was in the trailer, so like it's showing that it's reminiscent of Miami. I was a big fan of Vice City. I thought that game was dope. I also love the radio stations for Vice City because like it was very 1970s, 1960s, like Tony Montana types. Was it 80s?
I think it's 80s.
My bad. It was just like throwback music, and it was great. So like I'm looking forward to it because like those little things, the nuances of the game, like the music. Obviously the mission in itself is gonna be great. They got antagonists with I think male and female, so those are different. Obviously,
I don't think it's gonna be throwback radio stations.
you think it's gonna be up? It's not gonna be all like it's not gonna be like Vice City.
There's Bottle Girls. Like it looks like a very like today
Modernized, okay,
very modern. Like the cars are very modern, and then they show the image of like the cutscene of the club. It looks like a typical 2020s like club with bottle service, and like it looks very modern.
Still could be dope radio stations.
It still could be dope.
I wonder what the soundtrack is going to be in it because they usually release whether it's talk radio with podcast. I know shout outs to Adam Houghton who might not be in here today, but that motherfucker used to always put on like that talk radio for when he's playing GTA 4.
Can we just take a quick break? I played back the Vice City one and listened to talk radio recently. It is fucking hilarious. Like the satire and comedy hidden in there. Shout out to Rockstar for just like putting in like little funny Easter eggs everywhere.
They do a good job of putting in, I would say, like you already said, like Easter eggs in specific spots or missions that you could do, side jobs that you could do, little nuances besides just following the storyline. So I'm a big fan of that. I can't wait. Granted, it's 2 years from now, but it's definitely worth the wait when it comes out.
That's when the podcast is going to end because D is not going to put it down.
You think that it's going to be in 2 years? I don't think you understand where my time is going to go when college football releases next year.
You're right.
Big shouts to everybody that's in here from the GBA, but you might see the end of Frizz when college football releases next year because that is my game. Literally the best game I've ever played at. I've ever been good at. The best game.
I don't want any part of your online dynasty. It's
no smoke, but I'll throw it at anybody. All smoke is allowed.
All right, good show. Shout out to all the people for the GBA watching us. We really appreciate the love. It's always fun to have people watching and also commenting. It makes this way more better for us. So bottom of our hearts, thank you guys for joining us today. D, why don't you get the people out here right?
Chugara, I appreciate you guys being here again, whether you're in, the GBA, you're commenting on from Facebook, random people that are on Twitch, anybody that's in here, it's greatly appreciated, like Trudeau was saying. But every time that we getting up out of here, please make sure y'all hit us up on all of our socials. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. We don't got the Instagram or the TikTok quite yet, but we do have a website. And I believe my partner was saying we're going to have some gear one day.
Yeah, I'm actually painting it in the back.
Let's go painting, baby. No, we don't got gear, but one of these days we'll bust out a hoodie or two. Please, please, please make sure y'all take care of y'all mentals. We love y'all, so make sure y'all take care of y'all physicals. Make sure y'all set those shitty ass, what are they called? New Year's resolutions coming up soon. No, I'm joking. I'm just joking. Make sure y'all take care of y'all mentals, y'all chicken, y'all children, and we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.
They got a website that you can hire girlfriends for the day.